and honoring the masculine divine, the balance within masculine, feminine, the integration of shades of light, the wholeness of your intellect and intuition. You have the message, yes? And this too opens up so that you may decide when and how you express more of who you are. It's one thing to say, I am a wise, wholehearted, multidimensional being. It is another thing to know when to be still, when to take action, and when to live it. Yes? Enjoy, excitement, discovery, adventure. Finally, the time you have come for is here. Looks a little messy in the moment, but stay strong. Stay strong, for you are calibrating into new levels of wholeness, and your very presence will inspire and awaken. How delightful is that? Even as you continue to inspire and awaken yourself. We have a message we gave the other day, and we wish to give it again today. You have built beautifully. You have already been building. You have built on love. Continue to grow in your ability to build in the energy of infinite love. And with it, we want to tell you, as we told the other group, there is time. There is time. One step at a time. And every once in a while, a quantum leap. One step at a time. And every once in a while, a quantum leap. Yes? Ah. And so it is that we say to each one of you, in the energy of infinite love, a joy to remind you you are loved greatly, and with all sincerity, to invite you to love greatly. Do you accept that invitation? We are pleased. Together let's affirm, all is well. All is well. All is well.
Greetings, dear ones. I am Kryon of Magnetic Service. I am aware, Spirit is aware, of all those who are here. Also aware we are of the season that is upon you. That some of you will say just passed, and yet it will come again. A combination of All Hallows Eve and All Saints Day. This is the Halloween channel. I will title this channel Things That Go Bump in the Night. Reality, dear ones, for you is odd because it's based only upon what you perceive. It's almost like a statement that every human says, that says, I am in a box, and in this box there are things that I perceive, therefore there is nothing else. Indeed, there will be those who would never be caught in this room or listening to this message because they say it is not real. They'll say it is not my reality. I cannot understand it. It talks about things I cannot see or touch. That's a statement that says I will stay in a box. There have been some interesting questions about reality. If someone starts to say, well, I only will adhere to what I can touch and what I can see, then you say, well, explain gravity. It's invisible. And they say, yes, but we can measure it, so it exists. Explain the magnetic field. Invisible. Yes, but we can measure it, so it exists. Tell me then about love. And they will say, we're not answering any more questions. If you start to begin to challenge that which is seeable and feelable, touchable, there are many who do not wish to speak to you any longer. There is an interesting question. I would like to answer it as fully as I can about multiple realities. And it goes like this. Is it possible that there is another me in another dimension doing the same thing I am here on another earth at another seemingly time, but simultaneously? You've heard that. And it's such a common question that there has to be something that would make you ask it. This very thing has been asked in physics books as well. Is it possible that there are multiple Earths in multiple dimensions doing the same thing? Are you then existing in many places at the same time, on many Earths? I'm going to give you the answer, but the answer may confuse you until I try to then put it together. The answer is yes. Did that surprise you? But all of those multiple Earths and multiple yous are happening simultaneous right here. What it is you are in a multi-dimensional reality existence. Therefore, what is real to one person as they awake and have more awareness, they're able to see more things. They move into the next dimensional reality on another earth in that dimension, but here. So it's all happening at the same time. This explains why there are so many who only see a certain reality, and there are others whose reality is expanded so much more. They are in another dimensional reality at the same simultaneous time of everyone else. You can have so many paths, but indeed, there are humans seeing things, experiencing things, going into that which is so esoteric, you might say, but knowing it is so real. Or sometimes even the angels will show themselves where joy is there and love is there, existing simultaneously to one who sees none of that. They're together in different dimensions in the same place. There was a man named Woe. We call him a woe man. He could be both genders. We call him a man for the parable you're about to hear, for convenience. Woe was a spiritual man, very spiritual. Typically in his culture, he went to his organizational building. He believed in God. He believed in the love of God. He believed in a prophet who represented the love of God. So many do. Woe wanted so much to see that which was more spiritual in his life. And he would pray directly and through his prophet daily. And he would say, please, dear God, show me more. I want so much more in my life. I would like to feel the essence of Spirit, touch the face of God. I want to know so much more. That was his prayer. And God heard it. It started one night when Woe started to be awakened at 3:30. And his eyes would bang open and he wondered what was happening. And he would look around his dark bedroom and he had no idea what was there. but Woe was afraid. Now we stop the parable for a moment to ask the question, why, human being, is it that if it's not in your reality, you fear it? If it's not in your reality, you fear it. Think of this. It's a program, dear ones. And Woe had that program. From birth, he was told, these things exist, other things do not. And if it happens a certain way at a certain time, it has to be evil. And Woe was afraid. What is it that is waking me up at 3:30? And he'd look around the dark bedroom and he'd see things, and they'd become other things. The clothes on the chair would become some kind of a monster. And he was afraid. And it happened the next night. And it happened the next night. And Woe said, okay, it's time to turn on the lights. I will now sleep with the lights on. A week later, the lights started blinking at 3:30. He awoken to the lights blinking. He said, this is not possible. Something's wrong here. I'm now more afraid than I ever was before. There's a presence in this room, and I don't know what it is. Woe set up a video camera to see if he was imagining things, and sure enough, the video camera saw blinking. The lights were blinking at 3:30. Woe didn't tell many people. He didn't want them to think perhaps something was wrong in his bedroom. But he knew there was. A few weeks later, not only did he continue to be awakened at 3:30 with the lights blinking, but he also started hearing some kind of hum. And he knew his room was haunted. It continued and it continued, and he was very afraid. So he did something else. He said, okay, I'm going to move to a hotel. I must get some sleep. I'm going to move to the hotel. And he went to the hotel and he went to sleep. And at 3:30 he was awakened with blinking lights. Then he knew he had a ghost. A ghost was chasing him. No matter where he would go, the ghost would go. He went back to his house understanding and knowing that he could not escape it unless, of course, he could have it exorcised. So he called the ones who could make peace in his room and take away all the negativity. Get that ghost out of there, make it so it would not be haunted at all. And they came and they did ritual and they did all manner of things, including clearing. He was very peaceful. Now he had the authorities doing that, all of those who were very spiritual. Thank you, God, for chasing away the negativity in this room, and all the things that were evil are gone. Thank you. He went to bed and woke up with blinking lights. This was the story of a man who was trying so hard to understand the things around him, and he never really achieved what he wanted to. Woe's story, his narrative, his reality, was so programmed into him, he never understood truly what was happening, and he was constantly afraid. As the story has it, Woe lived a life, a good one. He was a good man. He never achieved what he really wanted to. He never understood what was going on, and he felt his life was haunted. He passed over onto the other side. He had this magnificent party. Magnificent. He felt the love of spirit. He knew he was with family, and met an angel. And Woe said to the angel, I never really understood what was going on the planet. Help me to understand why it is I would pray for the most spiritual things. I would want the love of God. I wanted to touch the face of my prophet and all these things, and all I got was a ghost. And the angel said, Whoa. I woke you up at 3:30. And then when that doesn't work, I started blinking the lights. And when that doesn't work, I sang to you. When that didn't work, I even gave you some lights on the ceiling that you never understood. We were there for you all the time. And whoa, had no idea. He made an arrangement with the angel. He said, when I come back in my next life, my plan is to understand the things that go bump in the night. My plan is to understand, to recognize these things that were outside of my reality and see them for what they were. Dear ones, how much of this simple, funny little parable might be the reality in your life? You are programmed to be afraid of what you don't understand. All of you, at some level, are programmed not to understand anything beyond your reality. And so when Spirit starts to flood in, do you feel fear? When Spirit starts to do anything else that might be the answer to what you've asked for, do you push it away in a subconscious way because you're not ready for something you don't fully see or know about or think is possible? Do you limit yourself in a box and say, this is what I believe? Do you, at some level, exclude the miracles that want to be in your life? Now, that's a question to ponder, is it not? And that's what this is about. I'd like to tell you something. The Creator of the universe sits on you with an unimaginable love and caring, and wants to have you achieve absolutely everything you need to live a long, peaceful, loving life. And that's the truth. And if you're not receiving that, that's because you are stopping it with something in your imagination. The ghost of your own making. The fear that you learned that isn't so. Right now, you might even affirm, Dear Spirit, let all things inappropriate in my life start to dissipate so that I can see the light that is there for me. Let all the things that might create fear in my life because I truly am afraid or don't understand, let them start to crumble in a way that I'll see it crumble and feel better daily, so that at some level I'll leave here differently than I ever came, leaving this city differently than I ever came. Know that something happened. Old soul, this is your legacy. To go beyond the reality that you think is yours. To go beyond that anyone told you is possible. That's why you're here. You sit in a chair and you knew it before you came to the planet. You awakened to something you didn't expect. Now let's get it together. It's why I came to this planet 32 years ago, and why this work has then been pointed to this moment in this time, to heal old souls of things that go bump in the night. I'm crying in love with humanity, and so it is. Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. It has been mentioned that there are those who are unseen that know who you are, who are here. And I mean here. If you're a visitor listening to this later, here means here for you as well. This is a sacred space that you have decided to listen to. And if you continue listening, all of the energies that are in this room at the moment are yours as well. Humans, everyone, respected, honored, Everyone. There is an entourage that doesn't just accompany me. It's an entourage that is developed from the various soul energies in the room. An entourage that comes to watch, honor, sometimes seemingly sit in your lap, knock on your nose, just to say, we're here, we're here, we're here. Years ago I said it, you're never alone. We mean this. It's impossible. Because of the system that is spiritual. The system, if you wish, of God. You come to a place and you finally understand and realize, number one, you're part of the system. Number two, you're here temporarily. This soul journeying that you do, you're here temporarily until the next journey in the next life, same soul. And so, dear ones, we're looking at ancients among you. And there is so much honor that you made it, that you've come, that you're here. Inside you, human being, right now, there is an active record of everything you've ever done on this planet. Everything. It lands eventually in your DNA. As you reincarnate, the last lifetime is then included, and you come in with that, fresh. Everything that you have ever experienced is there. And as we've taught before, it's not a linear representation as you would get in a book. The Akashic record is not about the activities of a human. It's about the energies. What was it like for you? Short lifetimes, long ones, various places of the planet, different cultures, different faces, different languages, different food. What was it like to be in the wars, to be a warrior and kill others, to be on the battlefield and be killed? All of you were. All of you. What's it like to be drowned? So many of you were. What's it like to lose children? And you would say that must be awful. It is. It still is. But when you come into a planet where every other child lives, you don't even name them till they're 3 months old. What's it like? What's it like to wake up and realize that you have information as an old soul that goes against that which is taught about God? Do you shut up or do you not? What's it like to be ostracized away from anyone else in the village, to live alone and only be kept alive because you have the magic, they think? Because you have the intuition to keep them alive, perhaps some potions, some information from Gaia and the earth to heal those around you. This is your life. This is who I talk to, old soul. What's it like for me to tell you there are civilizations you lived in you have no idea about? And yet your Akash carries them all. And the information that is in this multidimensional space of storage within every single human listening now, that information is profound with energy. What kind of energy is it? Well, it's remembered things. We've talked about this before. We've said the difference between the Akashic Records reaction and what it means 10 years ago and today is vastly different. That's what's changing. In an older energy, the Akashic record comes up and it then gives you information of remembrance, and sometimes it's difficult. Why would that be? Kryon, why is the Akash so disturbing to some that we have to have readers help us to dismiss certain things in our memory. Keeps us awake at night. It's difficult to work with. Why would that be? What kind of a system does that? And here's the answer. It's a system of free choice. As goes the consciousness of the human being, goes the consciousness of remembrance of the Akash. You remember dramatic things. Things that go bump in the night. Things that you don't want to remember. Feelings you can't explain. That's been the way of it. Until now. Last week we gave you information and exercise, words if you wish, and reminded you of the power you have over your own body and in this energy, the appropriateness of reframing the Akash. Demanding in your own words that the Akash stop remembering the negativity and the drama and start remembering the beauty. Remembering the good times, what it felt like for all of you as a woman to give birth. What it felt like for all of you as a man to watch it. The pride, the joy, the overwhelming beauty, the benevolence. It's there. It's all there. To command your Akash to stop with the old energy programs, the tapes that play, and instead give you something you didn't expect. Beautiful memories. It changes that residual buzzing in the background. We told you that. Now, where does it go from here? It may seem like we're going to skip around, but I'm going to tell you what has happened to the Akash, what it became. Now, the Akash has never changed, but human beings saw it and rewrote the rules. I'll tell you about that. So you have a bit of an understanding about the buzz that some of you have. But not before an update. There are those listening to this now who were there last week. There are those who not only participated in the exercise, but will listen to the channel and participate again. Those who have never heard of it will hear it the first time and participate. There will be thousands who will participate. There will be some who feel something, as I said. There will be some who don't. Because timing is everything. You are unique on this planet. There is never a time when we give you information of one esoteric pill does one thing for everybody. Doesn't. It doesn't. Some of you must work at it and work into it, must do it a number of times if you wish. Although I'll tell you, the body hears it the first time. Oh, it hears it. Hears it and starts working on it, even though you don't think it does. Here's an update. There are some of you, not necessarily in this audience, but the ones hearing me now, who've had some interesting dreams all of a sudden. A dream that would put you back into circumstances that were uncomfortable. Circumstances that made you less than. Putting you back into a time when there was betrayal. Putting you back into uncomfortable work situations or things that happen. And you're put back in the dream, and there they are happening again. And you wake up in the morning and you'll say, this isn't really what I had hoped for. And now I have what they call a bad taste in my mouth for the whole day because that dream was so real. I didn't need to go back and feel that all again. Oh, yes, you did. And here's why, because that was your closure. You had to go back. You had to look it in the face. Sometimes there are things you never wanted to look at. Some of you are not done yet. This is the Akashic record at its best. It's the Akashic record for this lifetime at its best. Things that have happened to you that you go back and revisit. In the Akash, a drowning, a death, or a time perhaps on the battlefield where you took a life and it stuck with you for ages, and suddenly here comes the dream and you just feel awful. You'll say, I just killed somebody and I feel it all over. It's the worst thing that ever happened to me. I couldn't do that, but I did it. I could feel it. Or I was just killed. Or I drowned. Whatever it was. Then you wonder, what is the appropriateness of that? I'll tell you, it's a closure. It means it's gone. That's what it means. And if you're one who had one of those dreams, congratulations. It's working. Do you see how this works? It's working. You have to go there because you didn't want to face it. Even in a dream. You have to go there and be uncomfortable for a moment in a dream. Doesn't hurt you. But for those moments, the Akash is working with you to say, in order to dismiss this, you got to look at it. And you are, many of you. And in the looking at it, there is full and complete clearing. It's not coming back. Not coming back. This is the power you have today, and we talked about it last week. I want to talk about the Akash. It's beautiful. What a system. It's a system of remembrance. Can you imagine opening an Akashic book with one page? One page is everything you've ever done. Because it's multidimensional, the one page is thousands of volumes of energy that are multidimensional. They come flying out. They go all over the walls and the ceiling. They're not in order. They don't have to be. And you look at the ones that are different colors because they have different energies. Can you imagine going back and seeing who you were, what you've accomplished? Do you think that there's a measurement in the Akashic record, not of horror, but of beauty? Do you think there's a measurement of wisdom? How much did you learn? And how would you like to have that presented to you today? So that you can walk from place to place and not make the same mistakes. So you can know when someone's telling you the truth. When you can feel when you get up in the morning a benevolence that says, this is a good day. It's a good day because I'm here. It's a good day because the sacredness in me sees the sacredness in Gaia. It's a good day because I know my ancestors. It's a good day because those who interface with me today will also feel it. And it may be as simple as you and your children. They'll feel it. You and somebody at work, they'll feel it. This is the difference between human beings who are always affected by the noise, the buzz, that in the Akash, which is always there, that has always kept you away from the magnificence that you deserve. And we dealt with it last week. I'll tell you what happened in history. The Akashic record has been with you since the seeding of the Pleiadians. When you started receiving the sacred information from the very, very top, either original or you got it from an ancestor. And you started to awaken with spiritual knowledge. The old souls of this planet have always had it. You are the ones that hold this information. It's beautiful. And it's simple. You came from the stars. You came from that which is God. You're seen by God as beautiful. And the God that you were introduced to, the Spirit, if you wish, the creative source, if you wish, was so far above any consciousness that you have ever seen on this planet that you can't describe it. Pure love. Pure love. Shining brighter than anything you can ever imagine. All it is pure love and compassion. So beautiful that when you return to the other side of the veil, you're part of it. You wash in the beauty of the song that plays that makes your heart sing with it. That's God. I can't even give you anything bigger. You wouldn't see it. You wouldn't understand it. That's God. Human beings began to evolve. Systems started. One of the first systems in this civilization you call Hinduism. We have spoken of this even in India, where we for the first time, revealed thing. This was the original system approach, later becoming that with Buddha. But it featured something. The Hindu system was profitless, right to the source. You didn't go through anyone. Nobody had to do anything. There was an acknowledgement of oneness with everything. There still is today. But the Akashic record developed into something different. Enter karma. Karma is a direct derivative of the Akashic energy. Things that happen to you that then lay energy in certain ways that invite you to clear them. And the system would invite you to clean up that which you didn't want and work with other entities of Hinduism that would help you clear negativity to the point where you did not have the karma anymore. You could clear it. You could go to a place where you were in full enlightenment because you did not have any more karma. Now, dear ones, do you find that interesting that that's exactly what we did last week? It was a system of clearing the Akash. It is there yet today. When I arrived, one of the first things I taught you is that karma worked then, it's no longer needed. You don't have to remember any of these things. It's automatic. Karmic clearing is automatic. Akashic clearing. We told you, you don't need to be pushed around by any energies. At this point in your life, in the spiritual system, karma is no longer needed. That's controversial. But look at who you are today. You're coming in with full knowledge. You don't need things to push and pull you around to learn lessons. You're beyond that. And you come in clean, ready to go to work with that bracelet on we talked about this morning. You've got other things to do besides work with karma. Even this day, there are those who say, what do I do about the karma? Even after I've said, you don't have it. You don't have to worry about it. There are those who will argue. I want you just to look at yourself, say, do I need it? Really? At this point in my spirituality as an old soul in this new energy, does it hurt me or help me? Does it hinder my path? Does it enhance me? You make up your own mind. Don't you find it interesting that it was converted into a system that then became karmic? Now, what happens next is really, really interesting. Because now certain systems, over thousands of years, begin to morph the whole idea. I want to introduce you to the human concept of sin. Now you have something where you start humanizing the system. Humanizing is the word we mean that you reduce all of the parts of the system to fit within what you are, to be that which is human nature. As long ago as you wish, as the Greeks, before sin, they made their gods dysfunctional in order for the mythology of punishment to start. That then graduates and graduates, and finally you have a God who looks at you and judges you for your behavior. Sin is supposed to be defined as anything that displeases God. And I have something to tell you that you may or may not grasp at this point. God is not a human. There is nothing like displeasing, pleasing with the creative source of the universe. It's pure love. It doesn't think like you do. It doesn't have the constructs like you do. There is not even the beginning of a consciousness that would even be close to what you have. Not even close. And yet, you have developed a system, a beautiful love of God, and at the same time, you've made God a bad father. Would any of you Take a child, no matter what they've done, and throw them into a place where they're going to be burned alive for eternity. Which one of you parents will raise your hand and say, well, yeah, they've done some bad stuff. That's what they deserve. And there's not one of you. There's not one of you. And yet you place that on the creative source. Yep, that sure is the way God works, you say. No, it isn't. The entire construct of sin and punishment developed completely and totally from the human mind. A human being's construct put upon the Almighty, creator of the universe. Does not work that way. There were no wars in heaven. And all of this literally coming from the Akashic record. Because the Akashic record has certain energies that when you morph these systems will create guilt. Now you are sorry for what you did that you feel in your Akashic record. It's getting worse, isn't it? Now you sit there and you don't know what to think. If God is real, is God displeased with who I am? I had a dream the other night. I'm not sure what it means, but I'm quite sure I did something wrong. That's why I had the dream. I'm afraid I'm not doing this or that right or wrong. Never understanding at that moment in time. This is a derivative of that which is your Akashic record. The energies of your record literally were then converted into karma, then converted into sin and punishment. All these same reactions and feelings then getting lower and lower in a consciousness state to bring you to your knees, human being, where you're afraid of God. Afraid. There's an oxymoron here. It doesn't even make sense that you would bring yourself to a place where you would fear that which was inside you, which is the most benevolent, gorgeous, loving thing that ever could be there. Talked into it, trained into it. This may offend some. That is not the purpose. The purpose is to reveal and enlighten, to open the box, to unseal a grander truth, that there is no judgment, the God that created you out of love. Where is it going next? What's going to happen? Revelation on the planet? Compassion is coming? Reframing and rewriting some of these things that I've just told you. That's what's going to happen. I know this because I've seen it before. I bring you this history to show you where this has come from, what has become it. These wonderful secrets that you had, literally, as a Lemurian, some of you, from the original teaching wheel, had to go underground, not be taught, only be kept. Secret societies you think today are conspiracies. They're only ones who have kept the secrets of what you learned in Lemuria. And in this new energy, they're starting to pop out. You're going to see organizations start to reveal what they know, and they're going to be Metaphysics 101. You're going to start creating organizations yourself to teach these things openly, not in secret. And I remind you, it's one of the first times you've been able to do this without something coming after you or being shut down or worse. There are some who are still afraid to come out of the closet light workers. They don't want to come out of the closet because the last time they did, it was awful. And now it won't be. Now I'm going to give you another concept just to make it really confusing. If you're going to become a bit more multidimensional, dear ones, you're going to now have to deal with a different kind of attribute in your Akash. Stand by. So let me reveal, again, the summary, that in this new energy, as bad it has become, the systems that gave you these things will start to be more enlightened in their approach. They will start to see that it's not commensurate with the love they teach. There will be a lightening of the load. Rules will change slightly, as they have over the eons and decades. It'll start happening again. There will be a return to one of the original ideas that God is inside of every single human. And the respect of that will be seen as primary, no matter who they are or what they believe. That's what they'll have in common. This starts a world that will pull itself out of where they are and have no more war. That's the summary. Now let me tell you something you need to deal with. There is the idea, this train of time you're on is going to create a train which is completely then enlightened, beautiful, clean, clear, ready to move forward in the light with brand new information. Now here, I'm going to tell you something, because there will be those who will ask this later when that doesn't happen for them. This is accelerated, advanced information about your Akashic record that you will have to deal with in the ways that you will have presented to you, and also we will talk about in the future. Time is in a circle. Always has been. Time is in a circle. Imagine a railroad track. You are on that track as a train, as a human being, a human train, and you are chugging along on that train. You can go as fast as you or slow as you want, but the train doesn't back up. It always goes into the future. That track is always ahead of you, and what's behind you is what you've done. Now that's how you see it. Now I want you to add a little wrinkle to that. That track goes all around the planet. Forget for a moment that you can't put a track on the ocean. Just pretend. And then that means that eventually your future becomes your past. Are you with me so far? Because you're going to start running over the same track in front of you that is your past. And what is it exactly in your past? It's etched in stone in your Akashic record. And whether it includes one civilization or two, it doesn't matter. The concept is this: you're going to meet your Akash in the future. Some of you won't understand what it is and consider that everything you've done has failed, because here it is again. Others of you will recognize that, aha, this is a fractal in time. It is laying on the track because the track remembers what happened. And instead of me absorbing it and taking it on and having to do all this again, we're going to clear it as we go. We're going to expect it to be there. And we're going to see it, and we're going to clear it before it ever shows up. Is this too complex? As my partner explained it as I've given it to him, these are the questions that only the future will answer. I've just given you something that's valuable so you won't think you failed, dear ones. Because those of you who have cleared and gone to this place where you say, my Akash is no longer there to irritate me and the benevolence is only there, and suddenly there's something negative. This is the 3D human. In the past, you will say, see, it didn't work. Then you reveal you didn't expect it to work. Then you reveal, and then you reveal. State of mind, how much you cognize these ideas. I'm telling you that there are things on the track in front of you for you and the planet and all these things that will appear, and you will think it's a return to the past, and it isn't. It's something that you're going to have to look at and say, I recognize this. This is old energy. Get away from me. You're not going to go through this again. Give it a name. Put it away. That's coming because you are now covering the same track again that laid those eggs of the Akash that you cleared. Will there come a time, Kryon, when we can clear all of the Akash, including what's on the front of the train? That's an Akashic clearing that would be past, present, and future. That is more complicated. And that's the next step. I'm telling you about this so you won't be surprised. There will be coming processes to help you. But as you understand it, when it comes at you, you won't be confused. You won't think you did something wrong. You won't go back into guilt. And you'll look at it and go, Kryon said it was here. And here it is. And you can laugh. Because it'll disappear as soon as you recognize what it is. It's a past karma that's in front of your train that you cleared. Therefore, it's a phantom. We'll even give it a name. Beware of phantom karma. Beware of phantom Akash. All of that from your past might show up. Just remember this time and call it what it is. This is a complex channel. It's something that you may want to listen to. It's something that you may want to revisit, just to hear these words. I'm about ready to close. Those invisible ones are still here. I want you to feel them for just a moment, and such congratulations to you. If they could put their arms around you, you could feel it. You'd feel so much love. You did it. And they would give you a message that say, don't fear the future. They'd give you a message that say, cast the old fears away. They're not going to come back. It's a brand new path. One that you've never trod before. One without predictions. You're going to lay the track that's never been laid before. That's what it's like. These are the things I have for this day. These are the things for you. And so it is. So in the Milky Way, you have what you have called the seven sisters. 7 stars, one of whom has a planetary arrangement around it. And you have called this arrangement and those coming from it the Pleiadians. And these are the ones who visited Earth 100,000 years ago, and it didn't take them very long to get here. And the reason it did not is because this is a race that is quantum. That is to say, there is no time, there is no space, there is no distance. They willed themselves here and they appeared. It is an advanced race that is spiritual. It is graduate in nature. It is mature. It is beautiful. All of these things on purpose, and those who came changed the DNA of one kind of human being of the 17. They stayed for as long as it took. You should know that this took over 1,000 years. Slowly, all of the other kinds of human beings dropped away. Only one was left, the kind that was changed. The DNA was being altered. And this is the creation story, given to you on purpose in a beautiful way by Spirit. It was an anointed time. And I would like to tell you, souls who are here, long before Lemuria, when you looked upon this and you saw it and you knew it was good. The Pleiadian brothers and sisters look like you. They do not have lizard skins. They do not have strange arms and legs. They're a bit taller. But they look like you. And there'll come a day when it's proper and correct and appropriate when they show themselves, not in your lifetime. But when they do, they're going to look just like you. And you will know that what I say here is accurate and true, for they are watching as I give this message. They are smiling with the appropriateness of this message. Listen to me, there is no conspiracy here. No one did anything to earth, to humanity. There is no control issue here. By design, on purpose, Spirit allowed them by invitation for this purpose. The only planet of free choice moved from the Pleiadians to this solar system. And Earth, literally, spiritually, was born. It's controversial. And those listening now don't have to believe this. It is not critical to having your light shine on earth for this to be understood, but it is the truth. And if you wish to know where the seed biology came from, I just gave you that. But there are still those who wish to go with the mythology that God came and all at once presented a system to the planet. They would rather go with that. As my partner says, they like the talking snake story. But that's not how it worked. Slowly, the first civilization on the planet was born. And it was called Lemuria. And it was not an advanced civilization in the way you think advanced. But they had something you should know about. Their DNA was at 90%. Not 30. All the quantumness of their DNA was activated, for that is what the Pleiadians passed to them. The oldest civilization on the planet, the one that was the most long-lasting, that never had a war, was Lemuria. Broken up only because the oceans of the sea rose. They became seafaring as they had to be and always were, and moved to the edge of the Pacific Rim. They were the original society on the planet. They were the beginning. On the top of the mountain of the biggest island of Hawaii is where the canoes are buried. And they will tell you that in the lineage of Hawaii. The Pleiadians came there. That's where they landed first. That's where they began their work. Lemuria celebrated that, for they knew in their DNA all about the solar system. Did you understand that a quantum DNA working at 90% creates a consciousness that is one with the universe? One of the most ancient of spiritual beliefs on the planet asks you to be one with everything. It's not an accident. I'll get to that in a moment. The remnants of Lemuria are gone, covered by water a long time ago. You're not going to have proof of this. Not physically. Only if you go there. And you ask what is happening. And the ancestors will come to you and answer. And say, welcome home. It is controversial. It is not understood, it is not seen, history does not report it. Lemuria existed. Do not place so much attention on Atlantis. Atlantis was much, much later, and there were 3 of them. Which one do you want to talk about? They did not play near the role that those in metaphysics wish to assign upon it. Oh, it was important. One of them was so recent, off the Greek Isles, it's even reported within the history that you see. Humans have a dramatic interest in civilizations that get destroyed. prompted you to look there, to consider it perhaps one of the first, one of the most advanced. It wasn't, and it wasn't. Lemuria was. Cast your eyes upon that if you want to see. It was not an advanced society. It had no technical abilities at all. And yet, it knew how to heal with magnetics. It was in their DNA. You see, quantum DNA produces information, being one with the universe. They knew all about DNA, doesn't everyone? That's what a quantum DNA does. Right from the Pleiadians. The Lemurians knew much. They knew all about the solar system. They knew about the galaxy in general. They looked at the stars and understood what was there. Now, long after the Lemurians were gone, thousands of years, the ancients still had it. What you call today the beginning of civilization, which you don't even give credibility to, is 30,000 years, 40,000 years. Maybe not even 10. That'll change. You look at those as the ancients, and I tell you, they knew about the stars. They knew about the galactic alignment coming. They knew about what is here. They knew about all of these things. This galactic alignment, which we say here is coming, we teach has already begun. You see it as 2012, we see it as 1998. Do the math, and you will find that you are sitting in the energy of this galactic alignment. A 26,000-year cycle that the ancients knew about. They still had DNA that was working in a quantum way. Without telescopes or computers, they knew. They knew about the solar system and all of these things. And so I ask you now, what happened? And so we reveal that you slid backwards, and you know you did. For free choice is honored. The splitting of Lemuria and the fragmenting of human society creates many ways that you might have said opportunities of losing what was a collective consciousness. And you did. And in this process, the DNA that used to be at a 90% level was reduced slowly back to 30. That's what you have today. And literally you started over. You did not have that quantum feeling, that knowledge, that intuition. You didn't know where your seeds came from. The Pleiadian experience was gone, was lost. Humans didn't understand astronomy. Humans didn't even think the earth was round. It went away. Almost like a reboot, a start over for all of you. And you pulled yourself up to where you are today, and I'm going to tell you what is different today. And with this, we almost are done. The lineage of DNA goes from a precious creation that was appropriate and accurate and true and not conspiratorial. No matter what any will tell you, on purpose, anointed and sacred. To a place today where it is beginning to be seen that way. And in that, the activation of your DNA is that which means you are beginning to increase it in a quantum fashion. There will be pieces and parts of the quantumness which can be activated before the other. You sit in a shift, you sit in an age you call New Age, and it isn't. It is a remembrance of the ancients. It is a return to a Lemurian state. And it's about time. This is what you call the new energy. The shift is upon you, and you begin to work with the DNA like the Lemurians did. Oh, human being, listen to me. This is the crux of why you're here. It is what we teach in this day.
that the DNA, that quantum sacred part of you, is laying there ready to be enhanced with intent. And all that I brought in magnetic service to you was to service this planet in a way that the magnetics could then talk to your DNA and return you to a state at which you deserve. The Mayans spoke of it. This is the highest vibration that Gaia has ever seen. You sit in the ramp up of it. Bring human consciousness to match that vibration, and your DNA will start to increase in its efficiency. You're going to start to see it in many ways, and we've spoken of this as well. Go see these channelings where we've told you there are some signs coming to show you that humans are evolving. And that evolvement process, starting with the indigo children, is about how much of the quantum DNA they are using. And the more you use, the less linear you're going to become. The more conceptual you will be. This is what you're doing. Here's something we've not spoken of before. The Lemurians lived a very long time. Self-diagnostics in the DNA created a human cellular structure which actually repaired itself. I'll tell you something that you would never, ever have expected. The Lemurian could grow back a limb. And I'm telling you, there'll come a time when you can too. And it won't be through modern medicine. It's going to be through thought, activation, consciousness. Know this, that you bring back an original energy, slowly, that was designed for today. It is time for you to return to the quantum state, which is the spiritual state, and it starts now. You fight a battle on the earth between old and new energy, and the new energy is winning. Make no mistake that the old energy will be with you for some time. And it's going to create issues with you as you clean up your economy. And you're not done. You will see the ways of a new paradigm of being, of structuring. And it's going to take some time. Do not fear what it will do. For it will emerge just like you knew it would emerge. One of the strongest on earth. Filled with integrity. A new paradigm that makes sense for a new age. Count on that. All part of a human evolvement in consciousness that you can see in your DNA. Kryon, is the scientist going to be able to put this under a microscope and see it? No, because the microscope is 3D. So I say to the scientist this, what I've said before: when you develop the quantum lens, you will see it. For you will actually see the chemistry in the 90% of DNA will glow under the influence of the quantumness. And you will know I'm right. And it will change colors with the activation, and you will be able to see it. But at the moment, you have no quantum lens. There is not any device for measuring the quantumness of the universe that exists on the planet. But you're getting close. When you do, the revelation will be in your biology. These are the things we wish to bring you today. These are the things of the teaching. And all through that, we've been hugging you. Why do we bring these things to you? To tell you, dear human being, that you have come full circle. You wouldn't have missed this. Dear human being, for those, listen to me. I know you. There will be a certain percentage of those in these next years who will come see me. there will be a transition, a life's transition. And when that occurs, know in all appropriateness how beautiful it is. An old soul, it's something you've done so many times, you can't even count them. And you will come back, and you will come back, because you're not going to miss this. This is the shift you have asked for, you've waited for, and you're going to be born with a higher level of DNA efficacy than you'd left with. Watch these children develop even into a more frustrating group than they are now. And some of them will be you when you return. I wouldn't say these things unless they were accurate and true. See the clarity of the channel today. Feel in your own innate sense the truth of it all. And be aware that you are dearly loved. It is the reason we are here. We collect the bowls, metaphorically, of the tears we shed as we wash your feet. We invite you in the room now to carry on this energy of spirit. Let it sit with you for a moment before you rise and leave. Let it be known that this day, Spirit really was here to meet the brother and the sister, to wash your feet with our tears, that you would let us do such a thing as this, to be with you for an hour, and to love you like we are. And so it is.
Hi everybody, I'm Lee Carroll. I am the original channel of Kryon. Greetings, dear ones. I am Kryon of Magnetic Service. We have greetings for those also who are multidimensional, very real. We have greetings for Alcazar. We have greetings for the sacredness and the geometry that is here. Now, dear ones, I have just given you something you should look at. For here I am, a multi-dimensional voice. That's hard to believe. Giving greetings to two other multi-dimensional entities. That's hard to believe. And all of this in the face of a changing energy on the planet, which is also hard to believe. The paradigm shift that we bring to you is the same one that we have talking about, that is the potential of the planet for many years. But we sit in it today. From my standpoint, we revel in it today. Dear ones, dear old souls, this was not guaranteed. I want you to get used to the fact that this planet and consciousness and life itself is going through a real physical transition. The transition that you may think it's going through is that which you believe as an esoteric believer. It's very, very easy for one who has spent many years in esoteric belief to see, feel, sense energy shift. And so many of you are aware. However, you're used to this. You're also sensitive to what I will call some kinds of multidimensional things. Some of you will see the energy. You will be aware of the aura. But I'm talking about the earth.
I'm not talking about just the old souls. This planet is going through a physical, multi-dimensional shift. We prepared you for it. Kryon is the magnetic master for the first thing that I did with a grid group. From the moment I got here to 2002 was to move the grid of the planet. Now your magnetic grid is measurable with your compass. And you can go back in those years and find out just how much the magnetic grid altered north, and you can see it for yourself. This was not esoteric. The magnetic grid had to shift. It had to adjust for you. It is difficult for me to even begin to talk to you about what another dimensional shift might bring you. We have told you that you've never had one before, ever. You have lived in an energy, literally, that had one kind of paradigm that never moved. It has become then your staple, the way things are, human nature. Everything is based around the reality you're in. As you begin to shift, consciousness will react. We told you that. We also gave you information about the actual area of space that your solar system is moving into. Astronomers are looking at coming out of the bubble. Go find this. You can. For all of existence of your life on the planet has been in some kind of a cosmic bubble, a protection of a kind of radiation that's coming. The radiation is not that which will affect you adversely. It's going to interface with the magnetic grid's new alignment and affect the DNA, creating an advancement in time, a fast track to your evolution. We told you that. You can go check whether it's coming or not. The whole entire planet is going to be subjected to a potential paradigm shift. Now, here's where it gets good. Potential. What do I mean? When I came to you 25 years ago, I said there was a potential shift coming based upon the probabilities of where you were and what you were doing. I say the same thing today. The snowball is rolling. It's hard to stop it from collecting more snow and getting bigger. That is the consciousness of the planet. A slow process that weeds out the dark and the light, that takes into account the reactions of all consciousness to the new energy. Imagine if you were invested in dark and evil. Imagine that for a moment. And imagine that this investment was fine as long as nothing changed. You could control what you're used to controlling. All of the darkness would still be yours. And suddenly, there's a little too much light. Something is starting to shift and change. What would you do? And the answer, you would go on a raging campaign of fear in order to keep things the way they were. Does this sound like something you might see? You see, the planet is changing. Not just old souls, not just light workers. If you want to know specifics, ask the indigenous. For their prophecies were all about now. Now this is news we've been giving you for some time, but I've just compiled it into a few minutes. Dare I say, it's beautiful. The fact that it is happening at all is beautiful. You passed the marker. more than past marker. You did it with flying colors. It wasn't even close. You didn't need a confrontation. You didn't need a war. You didn't need to reduce the population by millions of people in order to wake up. You did it by yourself. And when the precession of equinoxes arrived, the consciousness of the planet was actually higher than I predicted. And if you want to see that, you can go back and you can look at my first communication with you, which you call Kryon Book 1, where I gave you some of the potentials which included a mass death experience on the planet which may wake you up, and you didn't need it. You didn't need it. There's a feeling on the other side of the veil. Here you are. The road ahead is filled with free choice. It's yours. It always was. But there is a confluence of benevolent consciousness which is higher and larger than what we expected at this point in time. I just explained to you what's going on the planet and why your news looks like it does. I want to give you a parable. Every single parable we have given has been about woe. And if he wasn't mentioned in the parable, it was still about woe. Woe is not a man or a woman, but we call him a he. Just because of the language differences, it helps. Woe is a woe man. A genderless, it is you. Woe represents the human being. Parables are given because they are puzzles and mean other things. But human beings love stories. They relate to stories. And this one is about you and energy. In this particular story, woe is an old soul and a light worker. And he lives in the year 2015. The story of woe is similar, perhaps, to what you might experience. Maybe a little different, because you're all different. But let me paint the picture. I want to tell you who he, she is, and what woe is going through. As an old soul, woe has a lineage. Now listen carefully. The lineage of the old soul is one who has fought the good fight. Because this planet, up to this point, has had a duality which was palatable. You could be an old soul and you could be a compassionate person, but it didn't go very far. Whatever light you had was often put out by the incredible amount of negativity and darkness on the planet. War after war, and you had to participate. Regardless of your wisdom, you're in the battlefield. Regardless of your wisdom, the biology of life affected you. Your wisdom had nothing to do with the fact that if you were a woman, you lost children. Sometimes along the way from A to B, just traveling to get away from somebody chasing you. Sometimes it was in birth, sometimes it was in disease, or worse. We'll carry that around, dear one. Do you relate to it? Fought the good fight. Negativity, frustration, drama, war, hate was always there. And it was there seemingly in every sector. Difficult. Especially the old soul from the beginning of the seeding of humanity went through the phases where humans just never changed. Can you imagine what this has done to woe's countenance? For he comes into this planet and he remembers at some level it's time to fight again. At some level, the Akash of every single human being sets the stage of expectation. You come in, ready to battle. Now that particular Akash creates in woe a feeling where he doesn't feel where he can do anything and make a difference. But what he knows he can do is survive spiritually, and he does. To be the best human he can, and he tries. The Akash sometimes holds him back because he remembers at some level what it was like to be the shaman, to carry the information that people wanted, to heal, to be the intuitive who could read somebody as they stood there. And he remembers what happened. And he remembers an ugly death because they were afraid of him. Those who have magic are witches. The old energy is powerful. The world went to war a number of times, and woe was part of it. Both genders were involved. Both genders suffered. It was humanity. Woe is walking around in life today with a lack of self-worth. Now you know why. There is no judgment, dear human being, for how you feel about yourself. But there is amazement at what you can't see. Woe is like you. Life for woe is just hanging on. All around him. He has to watch and be careful where he goes, what he says, what he does. All his life. But it's okay. Woe knows how to develop self-balance and compassion. He walks life as a happy individual because he has God inside. It's all he needs. But he's still careful. When woe goes to work, he did not select the people around him. You realize that. But you had to work with them. He had to work with them. There are those he likes more than others. There are those that are frustrating to him. Quite often those who would be above him in a pay grade are the most frustrating. He tries to go around them, meaning don't listen, don't be where they are. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. He holds it together, but he hears the negativity that they have. He sees others around in distress because of it. Woe tries to cheer them up or battle the energy the best he can. He's used to it, you see. He's a light worker. Woe lives alone. Now this is a trait of woe. He found himself living alone because it was easier. Because if he didn't, there was always drama and frustration. He had a cat. And to make things worse, the cat didn't like him. Imagine having an animal that you're compassionate about that doesn't really like you. You would come home and the cat would pout because he had gone. When it was time for the cat to eat, he knew it because the cat would come up and bite him. But Woe loved animals, and it was all the cat had. Woe knew that the cat's life was dependent on him. Despite this, he was still cheerful. He named his cat, Cat. Hello, cat. How are you? I love you, even if you don't love me. This was Woe's life. It was not a bad life. Actually, he liked it because he was at home with the battles. These were easy battles. There was no war to fight now. He didn't have to join. There was no mass death. There were no plagues anymore. That's odd, isn't it? At a time when there was a fraction of the number of people on the planet, where there was no air travel to carry contagion, there were no plagues, none at all. He had gone through 3. Now, he didn't know that, but his Akash carried it. He had watched loved ones die in front of him. Such sorrow. It wasn't this time, and he knew it, and he was happy for this. Woe could be a balanced human being, be compassionate. Woe was also a healer. As a light worker, he discovered he could use his talents. He could read the disease in people, and they would come to him. He had a side business as a healer, and it was a good one. But as he approached each one, Woe had to chase away the negativity, both of the healee and the room. He was used to it. He fought many battles. He was okay. This is Woe's life. Woe had powerful meditations. As a light worker, as an old soul, he could do this. And he knew he could. This was his solace. This is what he loved the most. He had the connection to God. As much as he could. And would the biology allow him in the energy, he connected through the pineal to the higher self. And he loved it. Some of his meditations were actually close to visions because they were real and he could sense and see. He could smell and feel. He spent the amount of time in meditation that was perfect for Woe. He had heard stories that you should meditate a certain amount of time a day, and he realized this was not true for him. That each old soul had their own Akash, had their own uniqueness, had their own lessons, and their own ways, and had their own wisdom. He meditated only the amount of time that he needed to balance. But it's what happened in his meditation that I want to tell you about. For almost every single one of them for over 3 years had featured a door. A door. He saw the door metaphorically. He knew what it meant. It was an opportunity to move into something beyond the door. Very clear. But he could sense what was on the other side. There was something more for him. More than that, if he had the ability to open it and go through it, he knew he would never have to come back to where he was. Woe learned to talk to the door. And he knew that the door had a personality, an angelic ability, because it was multidimensional. It could give him information if he wanted. He thought perhaps that the door represented a final lifetime. Perhaps even an appropriate death. When it was time, he would walk through it and never have to come back to the planet. He weighed all of these things in his mind. He didn't know what the door was about until he was able to start talking to it. In the vision, he was limited in what he could ask and the answers that could happen, because he knew that he was in a space that was sacred. It didn't work the same way in 3D. The questions he asked were literally that which did not come out of his mouth, but his innate also was involved. That which his consciousness was also involved. He would say to the door, "Who are you?" And the feeling he got, not the voice, because he never heard a voice. He got his messages through his intuition, right into his brain as though there were a voice. And the voice was always too beautiful for words. The voice was genderless. The voice was whatever he wanted to hear. It was the most beautiful sound he could imagine. And he said, "Who are you?" And the voice said, "Whoa, I am your future." He didn't understand it. How could the door be my future? Maybe the other side of the door. He saw the door, he admired it. He loved the fact that there was benevolence on the other side. Occasionally he saw it glow. Underneath the door, he could see light. Whatever was out there in his future, he liked it. Woe continued to have the visions of the door. Sometimes he would simply sit and be with it, knowing that someday he could go through it. He continued to think it was his demise, his death, his last time on the planet, and he looked forward to that time. And then he started asking the door more questions, and it was confusing. "Are you my death?" And the door smiled at him, actually chuckled, and said, "No, Woe, it's your life." Woe didn't understand. In this vision, he felt powerful enough to grab the doorknob and say, "It's time. If it's my life, it's time." And it was locked. He couldn't budge it. Nothing was happening. Nothing. He talked to the door. "I cannot open you." And the door said, "I know." He said to the door, "When can I go through?" And the door said, "Anytime you're ready." And Woe said, "I'm ready now." And the door said, "Come on in." He grasped the doorknob and it wouldn't budge. Pulled and pulled and pulled. This was a frustration. The visions were real. Woe knew who he was. As a light worker extraordinary, he had fought the battles. He knew he was wise in the ways of the world. And the door wouldn't budge. He talked to the door. "What am I doing wrong?" And the door started talking to him. Whoa, come closer. I didn't say open the door. I said, come through the door. And Woe started to realize what the door was telling him. He had to drop his 3D reality and walk through matter. And he did. Woe literally walked through the door. And in that instant, he got it. Nothing he had ever learned in the old energy was going to work. You can pull on the door. It'll never open. Let me tell you what Woe discovered on the other side, because it shocked him. He wasn't in another world. He was in his world, in another dimension. A dimension that was not anything he could count or describe, but one where suddenly his self-worth was skyrocketing. To a degree where the Akash that he had had dropped away. It was simply gone because the old energy has nothing to do with who he is today. Woe was becoming slightly multidimensional. He went to work and he looked at his boss, the source of frustration, the one he wanted to run from so he didn't get any bad instructions. And all he saw was a human that he was compassionate about. He wondered about that person's life. He felt sorry that they were frustrated and in drama and egotistical. And what he did next would shock and surprise you. He wanted to be closer to the boss, because he found that nothing the boss did bothered him at all. He could sit and listen to the things that used to frustrate him and put his stomach in knots, and he wasn't affected. I want to tell you what happened eventually, so you'll understand the dynamic. You see, his boss did not get the reaction he used to. No one was fearful in that body of woe anymore. In fact, eventually, the boss asked Woe what the change was, because he liked it. Woe's dimensionality had affected somebody else who was not even interested in changing dimensions. This is a process you're not used to. Everywhere Woe started to walk, things became easier. The old energy of battle and fighting, he realized, was a caveman survival instinct, and he was beyond it. He didn't meet darkness where he went because it ran from him. Woe carried a light that was so impressively bright, metaphorically, to that which is darkness, hatred, frustration, and drama, that it literally left the building when he arrived. He walked the streets differently. He expected good things. And the door in his vision was gone. When he seemingly tried metaphorically to turn around to see where the door had gone, there was none. He couldn't go back. He couldn't go back. Woe went home, and there was Cat. Cat took one look at Woe and rubbed against his leg. He started purring. That's all it took, dear ones. The animals know first. Then even the plants and the rocks. The whole planet knows when you become a little different. And from that moment on, there were no more bites, just purrs and rubbing. What's for dinner? I'm going to close and ask you, what's for dinner? Are you going to leave here differently or the same? Does this parable make sense to you? If you don't understand the hows and the whys, the timing, the actions, if you're at a loss for the practical meanings, I will say this: you're not alone. I just gave you the overall perspective. In order to go through the door, every single one of you will have a different kind of way. This is honoring to your Akash, to your individuality. But listen, if you didn't get it, if you want to go through the door, your actual cellular body will start to shift and change. You want to heal yourself? Is it time? Go through the door. Because we want you to stay, and we don't want you to stay in distress. This energy is not cooperating with your consciousness. Have you got it yet? And that's why some of the things are happening to you that are happening to you. You're not supposed to stick around in this energy the way you are. It's time to vibrate higher. Go through the door. What's for dinner? I am in love with humanity for what you're about to do. That's you. I know you. And so it is. And so it is. And so it is. And so it is. Hi everybody, I'm Lee Carroll. I am the original channel of Kryon.